3:32 p.m. So I have two things to document immediately. Number one, 3:32 p.m., the use of nonverbal communication as I am inside of the restroom at Upland Library. This is just as I documented on December 11th as well, inside of the restroom at Upland Library. And then upon starting to speak using my phone, again, that was another simultaneous use of clamor that mirrors my conduct, mirrors the targeted individual's activity, movement, or the change thereof. That's what I'm documenting inside of the restroom at Upland Library, and this is in conformity to the overall pattern of conduct. And so at 3:32 p.m., that was the gesture of my person touching my little bag carrier right here, and simultaneously, like immediately, there is the use of clamor. That's nonverbal communication. That is a pattern that I am documenting with regard to the invasion of privacy that the targeted individual experiences at every place that they're going, out in public, even out walking on the streets and the sidewalk, as I documented in San Bernardino, California, and in venues, as I document inside of Starbucks, as I have observed and documented inside of Stater Brothers, as I have documented on Omnitrans. And today is December 21st, and again, this is not the first time Upland Library inside of the restroom, upon my moving my foot, standing in front of the sink, washing my hands, and then that was the use of clamor and it's simultaneous, immediate with my movement. And so the entrance of a third party into the restroom, while it is not necessary to engage in the invasion of privacy, to engage in the search, it is relevant with regard to the search that is ongoing, and they are engaging in movement of air, they are engaging in crossing path, they are engaging in positioning. All of the elements remain present, but it is also relevant to note the entrance of a third party into the restroom with a targeted individual. It is 3:33 p.m. and I am at Upland Library and it's December 21st, 2019. So that was pursuant to the nonverbal communication, which is particularized to the restroom, which is another element that I am making distinct from the overall use of nonverbal communication. The invasion into the restroom is something that I have made a particular element with regard to this system of state-organized stalking and harassment. Again, this is December 21st, 2019, 3:35 p.m. inside of the restroom at Upland Library that is acting in conformity to the pattern of conduct. Definitely want to note this. Upon getting off the elevator, walking upstairs inside of the Upland Library, that's where I'm still at, I am approaching the exit, and we have enhanced light tactics, flickering the lights as I am walking toward the exit. And I was given the explanation that it is closing at 3:45. It is not 3:45 yet, irrespective of their making an announcement stating that the time is 3:45. That is an enhanced light tactic. It is not a coincidence, in conjunction with all the other elements as I document them here inside of the library. And it did occur as I approached the entrance doors, which is air movement. In addition to that, upon getting off the elevator, there's a third party walking directly behind me in parallel position. That's analogous behavior to observe, as I've observed at like Stater Brothers. Upon walking out the bathroom, walking down the aisle, third party walk at a different aisle in step with my location though. That's the same P.O.C. So anyway, upon exiting, it was actually 3:42 p.m. It is now 3:44 p.m. And I just want to document the light conduct upon exiting the library, Upland Library. It is December 21st, 2019. I am now exiting. It is 3:56 p.m. I just want to get walking down Euclid. Decided to make a turn on a different street. Honda Civic engaged in positioning that was licensed 6YYX395. Stopped in the middle of Palm in front of my direction. That's crossing path, and she just sat in the middle of the street at Palm and 8th as I was approaching it. And what I'm approaching is the presence of a tow truck
which is parked on 8th Street. And what's relevant about it is that it has the blinking lights. That's enhanced light tactics with regard to a search for electronic information relevantly. And walking down the street also. This is relevant to the same airplanes that are present. I just noted, what is it, 356 I stated, it's 357 now. Upon looking up in the sky, upon noting the white female, blonde hair, she had a young child in the back seat of that Honda Civic that stopped right in front of me in the middle of the street. I even asked her what. She said, I'm just trying to figure out where I'm at. So anyway, that is relevant positioning that she engaged in. Upon my looking up directly up in front of me, there was an airplane in step with my location. I'm looking at the closest address, which is at 215. And again, with regard to the same system that's in play, these third parties are engaged in relevant positioning by merely driving past, by merely sitting in the middle of the street like that third party was doing, that for whatever reason, that she could have had a legitimate reason, she could have been picking up somebody up at the corner, which I've also documented. It is relevant positioning, and this is the system, the same system that is in place, but it gives explanation as to why she stopped for no damn reason. Right in front of my location, right in front of my direction I was walking, approaching the street. And that was, again, at 8th and Palm. And here at 8th and Palm, where I've never walked in the street, the airplanes are flying directly above me. This is directly relevant to the ongoing system that I'm documenting. And also, so I just want to note, this tow truck, it is with MTR Services, California number 444361. And they are towing a blue vehicle, regardless of whatever they're doing. It is P.O.C. I'm looking at license number 8J90216. A Latino male is operating that tow truck. Anyway, that's P.O.C. on a totally different street, totally different area that I have not walked on, and I am observing all the elements that are present, including the airplanes. What I also want to know is upon my exit of Upland Library, as I noted the enhanced light tactics that they exercise on my approaching the exit doors, the blinking of the lights, turning the lights on and off, as a third party was engaged in positioning directly behind me, and another third party walked in front of me, opening up the entrance doors. That was air movement, that was relevant positioning, and enhanced light tactics all at once. What I also want to note is, in addition to the fact that it was not 3:45 yet, that is also something that they did not engage in at every other time I've been at the library. So that's relevant to the reason why that is identified as, and reasonably identified as, another element in the ongoing search. This is to be, again, understood within the relevant context of, and I'm currently at 8th Street in Greentree in Upland, within the relevant context of the stalking conduct of the airplanes, whether they are doing it surreptitiously or are foolishly engaging and roaring their engines and letting me and my documentation know that they're engaged in the same P.O.C. of stalking and trying to steal my electronic information, in addition to the third-party conduct. So the state has made itself present today. The sirens that occurred in simultaneous sequence with my operation of my phone, as I said, on the second floor inside of the library. Again, that requires them to be, in order to conform to that same P.O.C. that is consistent, they are consistently within the physical proximity of my location. They are also engaged in listening in real time to every word that I say, every place I go, every activity I engage in, specifically, particularly, especially when it has to do with my communication devices. That is a main component of the state-organized system of stalking and harassment. And that is the significance of the third-party conduct that I am documenting as I walk down the street, as I sit in that car, as I go to the grocery store, as I ride the bus, as I go to the cafe. At every place, as I've demonstrated, the system is always in effect, and it is capable of always being in effect. And that is clearly illustrated by the state stalking conduct, but also by the fact of the airplanes, because they represent the extreme effort to make sure that at every place and at all times, the targeted individual, that is me, is subject to that search, that unlawful search in violation of privacy and stalking conduct. and to do it obviously so. An aircraft is unmistakable, and so again, that does speak to, and I know that I repeat it, but it's very relevant to make sure that I outline the significance of what I'm documenting. And with regard to this entity itself, it is particularly relevant with regard to malice and with regard to willfulness, which speaks to the criminal aspect, and it also is relevant with regard to the harassment aspect. It is now 4:02 p.m. and I just left that scene. Just wanted to some more real-time documentation that they continue to just hand over to me. It's December 21st, 2019. This is December 21st, 2019. This is just following up on the documentation en route from venue to venue. So upon exiting Stater Brothers, completing my purchase at 4:52, I walked out of the exit doors, and as again, Ontario PD present at the Starbucks, right in conformity to the P.O.C, 4:52 p.m. So that's as I'm walking out of the grocery store completing my purchase. Ontario PD is already at the drive-through, in relevant position to me at that location actually, as I cross the street. It is also relevant to note Ontario PD, headlights on, of course. It is sundown, so it is also under the guise of being necessary under the circumstances. But we have all the elements present with the state itself, but in addition to that, in conformity to the Stalking P.O.C, also in conformity with regard to Starbucks P.O.C, and their form of harassment by the incessant presence of law enforcement, including those who have engaged in physical harassment, unlawful imprisonment, battery, assault, etc. Those officers have arrived here also. That is in conformity to the harassment aspect of Starbucks. What I want to note with regard to vehicle 1850, license 1503460, that was at the drive-through window. Sorry, I'm doing more than one thing at one time. That was at the drive-through window of the Starbucks as I approached the establishment across the street, which of course is known as I'm documenting the state that is engaged in stalking me from place to place, engaging in flying over me as third parties cross paths the entire way I walk down San Antonio to the Stater Brothers, flying over the Stater Brothers upon my entrance into the Stater Brothers, and then the state presence by law enforcement at Starbucks upon my exit of the store en route to Starbucks. What I also want to note is the fact of what we have is another, well, it's not a coincidence, but this is another pattern. The notable absence of a third party seated at the table, which P.O.C, they always have one seated directly next to me, but what they have been doing is their state presence in the proximity of my location, which yesterday was a fire truck and P.O.C with the lights on, stationary on HOLT, which I was able to document as I looked out the window, in addition to the helicopter flying over the building. This is while I was inside, as opposed to having someone seated right next to me at this table, which is P.O.C for them. And today, again, the absence of a third party at the table, but with the state presence of the Ontario Police as I've documented upon my arrival. This is relevant to the ongoing stalking by the state and relevant to the third-party conduct as I documented inside of the establishment, the particular venue of Starbucks right now at 706 West Holt Boulevard. It is 5 p.m. actually, and again, that was like clockwork. 4:52, I complete my purchase, I walk out, and Ontario PD is at the drive-through window for Starbucks, where it is known that I will be going next based on the monitoring and stalking that I'm subject to, which is not a question based on my evidence that I have, and it is December 21st, 2019, and again, all the elements are present, and there are third parties, irrespective of being directly next to me. Again, they don't have to be at the table next to me, just documenting the substitutions that Starbucks has been engaged in. They are listening. There's an expansive invasion of privacy, an attempt to contradict and or duplicate factual circumstances, which in no way subverts the pattern of conduct as it exists. This is just my being diligent in documenting the ways in which they are engaged in the P.O.C. Third parties are engaged in positioning. There is still one that is in relevant position on either right or left. So in that way, they have not deviated from the pattern. There are always somebody to my immediate side. They are also actively on their communication devices. So anyway, it's 5:01 p.m., December 21st, 2019. I'm at Starbucks. It is 7:22. What I want to note is it is 7:24. What I want to note is at 7:22 p.m. while I was indisposed inside of the restroom, I'm at 706 West Holt Boulevard at Starbucks, and this is in conformity to the pattern of conduct on the part of Starbucks and on the part of third-party venues that I go to universally, but specific to Starbucks. I want to note the nonverbal communication cues used in the form of clamor coming from the third-party employees that engaged in sound like a pot or something. Just it's a loud noise. It doesn't matter specifically what it was, but it sounded like it was like a pot or a pan or something. That's how ridiculous it is because this is a coffee shop. But nonverbal communication in this venue takes the form of the third-party employees, in particular, creating hyperbolic levels of clamor that it occurs in simultaneity with, immediately upon my action, movement, activity, specifically with regard to my communication devices when I'm inside the restroom, which is what's occurring right now. So reaching inside of my bag and touching an item in my bag in concert with that was the creation of the clamor, and this is pursuant to a pattern that I continue to document. So it's not a random occurrence, and what I want to note is that that occurred immediately following that, and again, this is pursuant to the invasion of privacy that is occurring. They switch from the noise coming from the third-party employees to it coming through the walls, and so there is a consistent sound of booming coming through the walls that is, again, it has the same pattern of following, mirroring, shadowing, occurring in simultaneity with my movement and activity, my conduct while I'm inside the restroom. It is currently 7:26 p.m., but that's what I want to document that is occurring inside of the restroom at Starbucks, and this is no new aspect of the elements at work inside of this venue. This is just another day of documenting an additional occurrence. The targeted individual at no place is subject to having any privacy, and the ongoing monitoring, as I am showing, occurs as well in addition to the restroom and every other place that they go, specifically the restroom. So at all sides, outside on the opposite side of this wall, the planes that are flying over the building, the vehicles that surround the building, and the vehicle and through the drive-through, driving around on San Antonio, the targeted individual is surrounded at every angle, and what I'm showing is the existence, the pervasiveness of that system, and what I am specifically showing is my identification of that pattern as I am inside of the restroom, and that's the form that it takes, and it is in conformity to the same pattern that I continue to document, particularly with Starbucks. It is 7:26 p.m. It's December 21st, 2019. Looking at the government planes flying in a successive line over FERN and third parties in relevant position with their blinkers on. And the government planes are flying west over FERN, and third parties are in relevant position. That's basically on the same side of the street as me, and they do have their blinking lights on. That's a form of light enhancement. This is ordinary P.O.C. as in every other day. I'm just going ahead and taking extra documentation. It's 7:53. It's December 21st, 2019. And also to be noted, every vehicle, every third party that's crossing path right now, it's not a coincidence. They do that to alternate between vehicles that are identified with license plates, but every car that drives past on this street, on G Street, that's crossing path. Every vehicle is driving past on FERN Street, that's crossing path, and on the peripheral edges as well. They're using technology, so that's why they creep around in the corners. This is the same thing with sirens that followed me all the way to the surrounded this perimeter of my location as I walked all the way to 7-Eleven, completing my purchase to this vehicle at FERN and G. It's 7:53 p.m. Just want to note the residents, and while I'm doing so, the planes are directly ahead of me, flying parallel on G Street as I stand in front of 411 on G Street. This is a private residence where they have a tent set up designed to engage in playing very loud music. This is another form of harassment that they have engaged in before, just noting this private residence as engaging in specific targeted harassment, so that is relevant. It is not a coincidence that it is occurring, and it is in conformity to the P.O.C. That is an additional form of harassment. Think of the trash dumpsters, the trash men that engage in harassment, the gardeners that engage in harassment, that's targeted conduct, blasting the music, which is the intention. So that's why I'm noting that private residence that's engaged in that, intending to do so, playing music while I walk past as though they were engaged in that before, having no relation to me. That is targeted conduct. It is the same P.O.C., just noting that residence, and the airplanes are flying about. And third parties are engaged in relevant positioning right now at the opposite end of the street, making U-turns in the center of the street, coming back around to cross paths and engage in relevant positioning. It is 8:01 p.m. and I am back at FERN and G Street. And there we go. That's a real-time account of the documentation that I have noted with regard to the threat by making those sounds. This is based on my documentation. This speaks to the invasion of privacy as well. I have documented that on several other occasions while I was actually engaged in documentation. That is the threat. That's an implied threat and reasonably construed as such. That was the sound of the loud bang. It is December, not even close to 4th of July. It's 8:01 p.m.